Good evening. Welcome to the August 3rd, 2026 Academic School Board meeting for SAU 87. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jeff, as the new member, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, call to order. It is 6:01 p.m. So any agenda adjustments tonight?
Yes, under policy, if we could add policy EEAG as an expedited policy.
All right.
And then there's on the personnel report, number 25, you'll see that I struck through number 25. We're not quite ready for prime time there. Some paperwork that I still need to solidify.
I had noticed a couple names on that personnel report that were repeats. Unless
Okay. I
we
will
get to it.
I will look.
Okay.
Anybody else have any other agenda adjustments they'd like to make? All right, date and time of our next meeting for the financial meeting will be August 17th, 2026 here at the SAU offices. Do we have any, does not look like we have anyone here for the public. We do not have anyone online. If anyone does show up and wishes to speak, we will allow them to do so at that time and allow time. I would like to welcome Jeff Mahone as our newest school board member. This is his first meeting. Appreciate you being willing to serve and serving our communities. Would also like to welcome Rob Clark to his first meeting as well as principal of Boynton. All right, shall we jump right into the reports, Melissa? You're up first. Yes. Oh, we do need to review the minutes. I didn't see that on the agenda. So, review the minutes. Anyone have any, have you all had a chance to review them? Any questions, concerns, anything?
I didn't see anything, Jim.
Yeah. I have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstaining, I'm assuming. Motion passes with 3 yeas and 1 abstention. Right now on to the reports to the board.
All right.
Melissa.
Okay, so this evening you'll notice that Mr. Clark is here and our 2 other administrators have submitted their reports, and I'm happy to bring back questions on those reports if the board has any. A couple of things that I want to start with is just a thank you to our administrators who are in our buildings through the summer. They are ordering like mad to get materials, supplies, curriculum, all of those things to our teachers. You know, the gym at Highbridge Hill is like a UPS warehouse with boxes just along the sides. And then those ladies get their carts, and they load up all of the things and they deliver them around like little ferries. Same sort of work happens at the high schools and in the middle school, not quite to that extent, but still a lot of good work happens by those people in the summertime to make sure that we are ready to open schools, and we can't do it without them. I met with our mentor coordinator last week about new teacher orientation, which will be a 2-day program this year. What we've learned over my time with the district has been that 1 day does a lot for folks, but it's just not enough time for them to be in their classrooms, for them to get used to the technology, for them to get to know people in their building, like their administrators, a little bit more. So we've decided we'll go for a 2-day program this year and intentionally build in some periods of time where they can be with their mentor, where they can be with their administrator, where they can hear from someone who is doing the technology work that they will do. How do I use the phone? How do I get lunch? How do I go? When do I go to the bathroom? All of those things that teachers struggle with. So We are going to have a lunch hour meet and greet on the 19th at the high school. The board is welcome to join us for lunch. I don't have a time here, but if I had to guess, somewhere between 11:30 and noon would be a great time to pop in if you'd like. We received some news from the Department of Education regarding our 2025 single audit. The audit looks at our federal grant and our compliance with the regulations and ensures that we remain eligible to receive federal funds. Again, Diane Legendre is our grants person. I do the things that require in-house. She writes grants, she does the reporting, she makes sure our paperwork is in order, and it is one piece of the puzzle that we really couldn't do without. So again, very grateful, and that audit came back with no issues. So we're very excited about that. Work Camp New England took over Mascenic Regional High School, not last week, but the week before. And they took over. They were in every building, every space, all over. But it is a well-oiled machine. I came into the SAU one morning and I got a report about all of the doors are open at the high school and all of these things. And I was like, oh my goodness, what has happened? Mr. Pickering was out, Mr. Reynolds was out, Mr. Naaman Traffy was helping out and doing all of the things. And nobody had said, right? They'd said people are about, people are all over, they're using the spaces, which I expected. People are asking for technology support, I expected, nothing, but I was trying to find out if there was a complaint. I hadn't heard anything. So I wasn't worried. And then I got this, everything's open, it's exposed. I'm like, oh no, I go flying over. Well, I arrived to a very well-oiled machine. They had everything set up nicely. The doors were open, but someone was stationed there. And essentially they have work crews that went out into the community and did their things. And when they needed supplies, they would come back, pick up the supplies from the stations, and then head back out to the job site. And we had particular doors that were locked and secured in the building, like the server room, places that were off, administrator offices, those kinds of things. So while they had access everywhere, they had a procedure for every little thing. When Mr. Reynolds returned, he said they left it cleaner than it was. And that was a promise they had made. When I spoke to the director, she indicated that Mascenic really fit their needs and they would like to come back. There's a lot of projects in the region and in the community they would like to support with. So, we look forward to hearing whether they will follow through on that. And leaving it better than they found it is really a blessing. So we'll take it. Let's see. It's end of the year data review. That's one of the responsibilities that our office has each summer, looking at what has been reported for student achievement, what has been reported for ADM, making sure all of those numbers are within the reasonable limits. We did have one error that needed to be rectified, which we caught. And so we're in a good place there. Building trades, we picked up Mr. Pickering and a team, Mr. Traffy and another, I think Colin, picked up the handheld tools for our building trades program from Conant. Those are grant funded items. They're funded through a Perkins grant, and so they belong to the program. And when we adopted the program again, those materials come to us. Trouble with it. And so we've got a stack of handheld drills and battery operated tools at the high school ready for use. So looking forward to that. Credit recovery, 11 credits recovered. Several students worked with Mrs. Mackey this summer for credit recovery, and to have 11 credits recovered is significant. We've got a couple of kids who are headed back on track now from maybe not kind of completing what they needed to do. So it's really good to see that these students were able to get that many credits. And then you will see some report cards in your old and new report cards for High Bridge Hill. We talked a little bit about trimester reporting last time that we were together. We did put out a flyer. I hope you were able to see it, Mr. Cleaves, on trimester reporting. If you haven't, I'll make sure to blast it out again. But we are putting more information out in redundancy so that folks will be able to see what we're talking about when we talk about trimester reporting. But this evening, you'll see the example of the report card and how that's changing to be both trimester friendly and competency friendly.
Report card just for hybrid.
Just for hybrid, yes. Yep. The grading conversation at middle and high school is a little bit more different. High school grading is much more complex. And so when we talk about competency-based grading, there's a little bit more work that we need to do. And so we're hoping to hire the consulting group back this year to specifically tackle that project at the middle and high school. And that's going to involve a lot of education all the way around. Because when we talk about making that shift, people get worried about college transcripts in that kind of stuff, specifically at the high school. So more work on that to before we move in that direction. And then after school program, Healthy Kids is the name of the new after school program. They have started enrollment already for the after school program, aftercare program. They were working on getting the before care program up and running. There's a link in my report this evening that will take you to their website. It'll show their pricing, which I have listed in my report, and registration is open for that after program already. So another good service for our families, and we're happy to have this partnership. We had 2 people bid on that. We went with one option last year. They determined they weren't going to come back this year, and so this company was ready to pick up the ball. So very excited about it.
May I ask, is that, if I may, is that just at Highbridge?
Just hybrid, yes. Yeah. And then a couple of dates. First day of school, August 27th, first day for students, August 31st, first day for kindergarten, pre-K, and CTE programs. So all good things to come. Happy to answer any more questions.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? No? You've had a chance to read Mr. Pickering report. Anybody have any questions, concerns that can be directed towards Melissa and passed on if need be? No?
One of the things I'd like to highlight in there, if I may, Mr. Chair, is the student program. We've got a transition program this year that Mr. Pickering has been working on with some of the folks on his staff for 9th graders. It is an adventure lore program. Essentially, it's to help build community with those 9th graders coming in, and to provide them a shared experience so that they're ushered in with ready to take on, the big world of high school together.
There's permission slips and things that need to be signed and
There will be.
returned for those things. It might be
Yeah.
good to blast out just a reminder to get those in
Yeah. Yeah.
as the date gets a little bit closer.
Yeah. They will be out shortly.
All right, Mr. Clark.
Absolutely. New technology. So, good evening. So, Rob Clark, Boynton Middle School. It is a pleasure to be back in the Mascenic District. I have to tell you that. So I feel very comfortable, very supported, and I'm excited for the year to start. But with that said, we have a few things that we have to still do. We only have a few weeks left. As you can see in the hiring update, we do have, very fortunate to have Jason Coro, our assistant principal from Farmington. We did hire our teacher and 5th grade English and 5th grade math, along with a 8th grade social studies / ELA teacher. So we're excited those positions are covered. However, we're still looking for a computer science teacher if anybody would like to step in. 2 special education case managers, and that's a heavy load. 2 paraprofessionals and 2 personal assistants. We do have some applications, but in the para world, but we're not kind of empty on the computer science. So if anybody wants to come out of retirement, I'd take you. So like I said, preparing for the school year, we're working on the handbook. We continue continue to work on that. The master schedule this year, going into this year, we've made some changes. We've increased our core time to 60 minutes, and we have reduced our wind time to 35 minutes. And so hopefully that'll provide some more consistency in the core classroom. And also, the win needs to be productive. And so I think a 35-minute win will be a good change. We don't like to waste time. We want to use our time. We are starting, and I'll get to the CKH in a minute, but and right now we're working on operating procedures, the emergency operating plan. Today Jason and I were up at Concord at the SRO conference, and tomorrow we'll be back and we'll be going over the emergency operation plan there. Boynton is a very unique school. Where kids exit is a mystery to me, and where they go is a mystery to me, but we'll figure that out and keep them safe. So we've had some summer learning opportunities that were exciting to see. We had a couple of groups go down to Boston to the on historical field trips. As you can see, good turnout. Teachers are taking their vacation time to support students down there. That's a really good sign. We also had a large group go to Kimball Farms in Westford, and kids had a great time there. So those opportunities for kids during the summer, I think, is very valuable. And a hiking group throughout the month. So all this is new to me. So I have to apologize if I skip through this and don't know it as well as I should. But to see kids show up during the week, during the summer, and be excited about going on an adventure, and then coming back just as excited is really nice to see. And thank you to those staff members that continue to support that. Professional development, we were, Jason and I and Chris from Highbridge were down at the NHLI Summer Conference, which was a very good conference. The keynote speaker, John Spencer, talked about empowering students. This is, oftentimes students don't have a say in their education. And I think time that we started to open the door to do that. So that was a good start for me, a good learning process for me. Also looking at, we have PACE, and now they moved it, what's called the PLACE Performance Learning Assessment Consortium. So that was very interesting. And I think that the school I came from was competency-based. So I look forward to that transition and how we report out. And I know that it takes some time and patience because it is new. It is new. Again, we're at the School Resource Officer Conference up in Concord today and tomorrow. And then we have the Principals Conference coming up this Thursday and Friday. So we'll be up in Meredith going over all the changes in special ed law that we have to be very careful about. One exciting thing that, along with all this, was Capturing Kids' Hearts. We have Capturing Kids' Hearts coming in. It's a program that really promotes relationships, promotes common language, promotes a positive attitude. Now, any program, it could be PBIS, it could be responsive classroom, all those gear to a language and to a conscious effort to make relationships important, not just coming in and being the sage on the stage. Okay, and then we're just reporting out, and kids are taking it in and then going to the next class. It's really important that we make connections. Now, again, just coming in, I have the feeling that there's been really good connections made at Boynton. I feel that, and I hear that. So that's good. We want to capitalize on that. But I also think one of the things that have been brought to my attention is consistency in behavior, consistency in dealing with students fairly, but consistent. And I think that's something that that is definitely what Jason and I are going to look to do. We also, sometimes we get caught up as administrators in the office. One of my goals is always, okay, I'm going to get out more often. I'm going to get out more often. I'm going to get out more often. Then there's more and more and more paperwork. Well, we both have, he has a cart that he's going to be using, and I have a rolling desk. We have to be out. Okay. And if nothing, I've learned that it's too easy to get caught up in my office. Now I say that here, and I say it publicly, that I'm going to hold everybody I'm going to hold myself to that, and everybody can come in and kick me in the shins when I don't. But I think that's developing not only a relationship with staff, but with students. And I think that it's going to be a good move at Boynton.
I would just, if I can,
Yeah.
just to interrupt you a little bit, that Capturing Kids' Hearts is a program that, as Rob said, it focuses on community, right? It focuses on the classroom environment, the structures that are set up to help kids be successful, but it's delivered through some really strategic and intentional steps that teachers can take in the classroom to make sure that when we are behaving out, which is the language now, right? We can behave out of the classroom after a certain, after a while, right? There's a protocol that you follow, but you can behave out. And when I've behaved out, there's a specific response, and a specific response all the way up to behaving out. And so that consistency for kids, when I'm saying it, when the classroom teacher next door is saying it, when the one I see on the first floor is saying it, when everyone in the building is saying that same language, kids are then trained to say, oh, okay, so she said that, the next step is this. And so for everyone around, it creates a sense of safety, sense of community, because they know that when the teacher says X, the next stop is that. So if somebody is not having their very best day and the teacher's taking them through the steps, they know, okay, she's only going to say these things, and then they're going to behave out of the classroom. And that's the natural pathway. So it sets that up, and the work that they're going to do these first 2 professional development days is really going to start setting up that structure, really get people on board with that work. And it will continue all year long until we're really good at it. So.
Right. Thank you for that. This is not new. Some of the verbiage is new or has changed.
Yep.
But
Like behaving.
well, I think students need to be known, cared for, and needed, right? I think they need to know that they're important. That has never changed. We have often haven't put that as a forefront, and I think that before they can learn, they have to feel confident and comfortable and trust the situation and the classroom, the teacher, and the administration. So I think that it's going to take a while because anything new, they often say 3 to 5 years. Well, we're not 3 to 5 years. We want to get it started, and then we're going to do the best we can to incorporate it fully. This year, CKH, we did introduce up in Richards last year, and so I do have experience with the implementation of the program. They support you all year long. They don't just come in 2 days and then have a good year. They support all year long. There are monthly meetings, online meetings. They'll come in and follow up with training and a leadership group. So I am excited about how that will be done at Boynton. I think that we're ready for that. We talked earlier, band chorus. We sent out a survey to see who's interested in band and chorus. We're getting quite a few fifth graders who are interested, which is wonderful. The schedule itself didn't really, actually, I shouldn't say didn't really, cut back on some of the band chorus during the day. So we had to reconfigure our groups so that band can be offered every other day for 2 quarters, and then once a day the other 2 quarters. We kind of adjusted that because of not having a fax teacher to back up band and chorus. We have to be a little bit creative in that way. But we're excited about that. We're excited about the students who are still interested. And we also, fall sports, as you probably already know, I'm just learning about, is funded for this coming year. So we're excited about that too. Any questions? I apologize if I ran through that too fast, but.
Yeah, Rob, I have a question about capturing kids' heart. It sounds like it's a great program, and you're right, the verbiage has changed. I've been in education long enough to say, oh, that sounds familiar,
Yeah.
different term. But anyways, it sounds like there's great training for the teachers. Are the students going to be introduced to it?
Yes. So every morning, thank you for having me jump in, but every morning we have about a 18, 20 minute block of time. We take our attendance, and so forth, but that's devoted to CKH.
Okay.
And so that teachers can take that time. There's agenda. They'll have a topic for the day, and they'll explain to their homerooms what it is and how they're going to go about it each and every day.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you.
I will commend you on the communication over the summer and so far for all the programs. I had a child who was on the hiking program, and the communication from those leaders really spot on and on top of everything, and letting us know what was laid out for the week coming up. And if there was going to be a weather issue or something like that, they were on top of the communication and gave us all plenty of time. And same with the band and the fall sports, getting all of that information out early and often here. So, we know what's coming and kind of where we're looking at to get everything all lined up that we need to be has been really appreciated. I think it's coming along in a much better way than it was in probably years past.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll continue to do that.
And if I could actually ask another question too, I forgot about this one. I have to congratulate you on your new hires, because I know that middle school is sometimes hard positions to fill. So that's great. You've got a lot of new hires, but I was kind of curious as to how did things shake down? I know, back a few months ago with the budget cuts, we were talking about, teachers, how many teachers per grade, what teachers were teaching what subjects. What do you have for how many teachers per grade, and do you have teachers teaching multiple subjects this year?
No, I couldn't figure that one out.
Okay.
Okay. So to be honest with you, so what we have is we have 4 5th grade teachers,
Okay.
4 cores. Then we have 3 teachers in each of the 6, 7, and 8.
Okay.
And I don't have that right in front of me, but we'll be teaching either social studies altogether or ELA. ELA will be in 8th grade, and I believe ELA will be in, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
But so they will teach their core, and then
pick
outside
up one
the
of
core,
whatever the odd,
Yeah.
whether it's social studies or ELA. Okay.
keeping them together.
Okay. So most of the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers are all teaching 2 subjects. They're core 1 plus an extra social study. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I can fill in a little bit of detail there if you'd like. The 6th grade was an existing team, and so there were people already in positions there, and so the open position was a social studies position. So in that grade, they will share a social studies assignment. The ELA program for grades 5 and 6 is driven by a official program because of the state law around delivering foundational skills, phonics skills through grade 5, and the program continued through grade 6. And so it was the best instructional decision for students. And so we've gone that way. In 7th and 8th grade, when we are looking at instruction, the social studies content, while we can share that responsibility, oftentimes social studies, just like math, just like science, requires a level of expertise that not everyone has. This understanding deeply about timelines, about the historical events, about the way things are connected across all of those. And while I went through social studies courses as a student, I am by no means a social studies teacher. And so what ends up happening is the content becomes less robust because we just are not experts. Now, Can we do that? We sure can. And people will do their best and we'll provide them what they need. However, we were talking to the folks there. They felt strongly that they could handle the social studies content and that ELA would be a shared subject matter. And because most teachers who are trained through grade 8 elementary levels have been taught to teach reading. And reading is in all of our subject areas, and as is writing. And so that lift it's still a heavy lift, but it's a little less. It's a little less. We can all take a novel. We can all do a novel study. We can all teach kids how to navigate those reading standards because we do them as part of our content anyway. And so that's the decision we ended up making for.
There is to make sure that teachers are given time to develop their curriculum, right? And that's just assume they're going to find the time somewhere. So we're actively looking at how we're going to schedule that out for them.
Okay. Is there some thought to, it's harder with social studies if it's a history related, but I think, is it geography at 6th grade or something? But is there some thought to kids rotating through different ELA or different social studies so the teachers are only, okay, I really only got to know this portion and then I teach it again and then I teach it again and kids are rotating through different teachers?
We do have teams talking about how they're going to do that.
Okay.
And that's one of the options that they've come up with.
The other thing to know is that the 6th grade social studies teacher who just who resigned from us, left us a really lovely treasure and provided a lot of resources to her team before she left. Nice. So they're well prepped for this change.
Any other questions, concerns for Mr. Clark?
No, just sort of a general question. Are we looking at SRO district-wide, or are we targeting Boynton, or are we reopening the whole thing?
Yeah, none. The state of New Hampshire, the Police Officers Association, SRO Association, puts out a conference every couple of years, and we're invited to it. And because we don't have an SRO and not one in our sites,
I just remember the last.
You're
Yeah,
looking
I'm
at
sorry.
it.
It's a 12th annual conference that they offer not only to police officers, SROs, etc., but to school administrators, because many of the topics, if not most, are geared around schools.
And you're looking at our SRO for Boynton right here.
I'm there.
Good. Thank you.
Any highlights from Mr. Saunders' report that you want to mention, or any questions if anyone's had a chance to review?
Just briefly, Mr. Saunders is looking for a couple of positions as well. The biggest vulnerability for him is the school counselor. So that's a position we're looking for. That's a very specialized position. You got to have a master's degree to be a school counselor in the state of New Hampshire. So we are looking for someone certified or nearly certified to fill that role. So if we know anyone who is interested in working with really great kids at a really great school, please encourage them to apply, because we'll take it. We'll take it.
Anybody else? All right, moving on to unfinished business committee assignments. Has anyone given any further thought to what committees they would like to be a part of in any way?
Did we resolve that?
With
Oh,
Jeff coming on, is there any committees that he wanted to be involved in directly? I think so. The co-curricular committee is you, Ellen, correct? Is there room for more on there, or?
There can be, but there does not need to be, but anyone's welcome.
Policy committee, that was you and I, Steve. The wellness committee is Mitch. I'm not sure if that requires anyone additional for that committee. Are you familiar?
No,
Not necessary.
That's pretty light.
Joint loss committee, I'm fine with that on myself. I don't think that needs anything. Facilities committee, I think we
pointed at Jeff.
We already pointed at you and just hoping you'd agree. So the facilities committee will be Jeff. You had mentioned possibly assisting or not being full on member, but at least helping out when necessary. Steve?
Just some history with Gary Somro. build propellers and all that, but no.
ABC is just Mitch. Nick?
He's not here, so we can put it.
Technology committee, did anybody have an interest in joining Bessie on that in any way?
Who's done it now?
No one, we need somebody.
We don't have anybody on it currently.
You're on the policy.
You're on policy.
Do you want to do
I can be
technology?
on tech.
Check,
too.
all right,
Yeah,
so-
yeah, it's not.
And then we already have 2 for the teacher and para negotiations committee, so
Okay.
we can't have a 3rd there. So it looks like you're just stuck with facilities committee, so this year.
We are meeting, by the way, on the negotiations. We have been asked to meet with Kathy.
August 11th.
Ahead of time, because there's some questions that I don't think have been worked out, and that's really around the TAs. Traditionally, if you're negotiating with a lawyer on negotiations, the quorum rule and the daylight rule is not applicable. So you really don't have an issue if there's 3 people there or 4 people there. It's considered, dialogue with an attorney. So right now they're saying, let's get 3 of us on there, because when Mitch leaves, we don't want to have to backfill and say, okay, here's where we've come from. So.
Okay. So we want to formalize this list, get it all filled in and get it to where it needs to be.
Yes, I think you all could, do we need to approve this, folks, or
I don't think
I don't think so,
typically we
no.
do.
no? Okay.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, we will get it filled in and then we will move forward.
All right.
The only reason you'd approve it would be to list it to the public, and so you're going to list it anyway.
Got it.
All right, moving on to new business. The October 5th, 2026 meeting. My understanding is that our esteemed chair, Mr. Gluck, is not going to be able to be present. He had asked me to chair for that meeting, but I have to be out of town on business that day, so I will not be there as well. Mitch did ask that Ellen, if you were available, if you could chair the meeting. If not, and you can find somebody else, then
I can
we
do that
cross
unless we
road.
want to discuss having the meeting a different day, but that's totally up to the
Given
board.
the time of year, I think we didn't necessarily want to
Want to go there? Okay.
cancel the meeting, but I didn't know if a different day that week or
With it-
either earlier or later would be preferable for everybody.
With enough notice, I think we could move it to the 6th if that was preferable, or the 7th, whichever. What I didn't want to do, because it's budget season, is skip the meeting.
Right.
We need every minute we can get there.
Now, is Mitch back on the 6th or he's still gone? And Jeremy, what's your schedule?
I'm out from the 5th to the 8th, or
Okay.
to the 7th. I would be coming back on the 8th. I do
Okay.
not know what Mitch's schedule is.
I do not recall either, but I thought through the 10th.
Okay,
Mitch might have been
so
up
we
this-
really can't, it doesn't matter to pick a different day, neither of them. Okay, so we'll stick with the October 5th one.
Thank you, Ellen. Really, really appreciate
How
that.
much I love doing that.
All right, moving on, out of district placement.
Yes, I just wanted to give the board an update that we will have 4 students placed out of district. They are going to the same place, and so transportation will be combined for those students. We've got a good partnership here. One of them, I think, will be working on a bit of a transition, but at the moment, I just wanted you to know that there are 4 students who we will be paying out of district tuition.
Okay, how does that compare with last year?
We had 1 student
Okay.
last year.
Okay, so we're looking at some significant
Significant,
cost increases. Okay.
Yep. significant.
All righty, moving on, the CSI final summary report. Looks like it's you again, Melissa.
Yes, I just wanted to share that with you. Mr. Saunders did have a little bit of this in his report. Overall, the CSI process was very robust. Mr. Saunders spent a lot of time with Mr. Coots from the DOE regarding that comprehensive support and improvement plan and the process and revising the plan. Mr. Saunders took the lead in enacting that plan with staff. We've aligned resources through the grant funding. We've got we've made a significant amount of progress with student intervention at the elementary school, with identifying student need, with documenting data for students and creating plans for students around their instruction and the whole child, actually. So so that process, while it was really robust, benefited the district quite a bit. Now, if you recall, we were identified as a CSI school under two categories. One was equity, and then the other was, well, that went right out. So under the two growth, equity and growth. So equity refers to the performance of our students farthest from proficiency and how they compare to students who are like them on the state assessment. So those were our students who would be scoring in that 1 range, right? Substantially below proficient, and how they would compare to students who also were in that range, and we fell short a bit there. Fast forward from we were identified and had a plan written in March and April, and we were off the list with the scores that we had 2 months later. So Highbridge really turned that around. That designation went right to their hearts, and they really just picked up any slack that they could possibly. Now, some of that could come out of COVID, some of that could have come out of a lot of things, but regardless, Highbridge Hill really turned that around and has capitalized. We've got the book vending machine now. We have got the mail, the Highbridge Hill post office going there. We have got some significant resources in place across the district because of this plan. So well worth the efforts, quite a lot of work, but Highbridge has done a really nice job with it, and the district's benefited. So grateful to that. You'll see the whole report there. Mr. Coots' recommendation for the kinds of programs that are there. That grant fund runs through September 2027. Once we get to September 2027, some of those items, if they're fruitful, will be things that we'll need to adopt in our general ed budget. But again, we've had a lot of success for kids. So so Mr. Saunders and I will be advocating for a couple of those resources going forward. And if there are any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them.
Nope. Alrighty, moving on. Fiscal year 26 fund balance retention.
Yes.
It's you again.
It's me again. Let me just grab the report. Mrs. Anderson put this together for you all, and I don't want to speak out of turn, so let me just get to her documents. Okay, so just a little bit of historical piece here. March 2013, the voters approved a warrant article for the district to have the ability to retain end-of-year fund balance for emergency or unanticipated expenses. The amount to retain is up to 2.5% of the current fiscal year's net assessment. And Mrs. Anderson does a nice breakdown. Amount to apportion $19,269,394, less the state aid of $5,464,086, local tax assessment $13,805,308. The 2.5 retention she is seeking is $345,132.70 from unreserved fund balance for FY 27.
Any questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to retain the $345,132.70 from the universal fund balance for fiscal year 27?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving on. Electric supply contract, Ms. Gray.
Again, another memo from Mrs. Anderson around electric supply. I'm sure you can guess electric supply rates are going up. Surprise. The current projection from Eversource is for August 1st. Well, it's August 3rd, so too late. Is 14 cents per kilowatt hour. We are looking for, there are a couple of plans presented. Let's see. Mrs. Anderson actually presents three things. So if the board believes the energy prices will continue to stay high or continue to increase, she would recommend locking in 48-month contract with Constellation Energy, which is providing an all-in price and is our current supplier. You can see the rates attached to her report. If you scroll down, 48 months Constellation Energy looks at 11.9 cents, about 12 cents per kilowatt hour. Option 2, you could the board could opt for a 2 or 3 year contract to be more prudent in the event that the rates fluctuate. Typically they fluctuate in the wrong direction, but the board may see differently. And then the other option is just to go with a short-term contract, a one-year contract. Still less expensive than Eversource, but we'd have to reassess again in a year. The reason to lock in, as recommended, here is a number of things, right? Global tension, there's a constant escalation there of energy prices. So historic temperatures, weather, all of those kinds of things are concerns. So looking for a board to make a consideration.
Do you know if any of these plans require upfront payment costs that'd be greater on the 48 month? Like, are we doing that now for the entire 48, or is that just locking in the rate and that's it?
It locks in the rate.
Just locks in the rate. Okay.
Who's good at predicting the future here?
I'm not sure you have to do a lot of predictions. If you look at the recent.
Yeah, you look at,
reports
yeah.
from the idea that it's going to take that kind of a dive doesn't even seem to be in the most optimistic of reports. I would think the 4-year would be reasonable.
What I can say is that if you do a 12-month contract at the Constellation Energy price, we are looking at 13.2 cents per kilowatt hour, which adds about $33,000 to your annual budget.
Sure.
If you do the 24-month Constellation Energy package, we're talking about 12.8 cents per kilowatt hour, and that adds a $28,525. If you do a 36-month Constellation Energy, 12.3 cents at 23,564, and at 48 months Constellation Energy, 12 cents per kilowatt, a little just under 12 cents a kilowatt hour, $19,392.
I would tend to agree that, given the way current climate is with regards to energy, I would not foresee any major policy shifts or changes that would drive down the energy costs, at least within the next
Right.
maybe after 3 years, but I don't see anything before then. So I would recommend the 48. I don't know if anybody else is adverse to it.
I would agree with that.
Right. Do I have a motion to accept the 48-month contract? Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you very much.
All right. Elementary report card, Ms. Gray.
Yes. So you'll see in the board folder, there are 2 versions of this. Actually, let me see if I can get them up on the screen for you. Let's see. see if I can get this. Ariana, do you mind sneaking over to that computer and just hitting that X in the blue box? Thank you so much. Let's see if we can see this. Okay. So our old report card, this is the new report card that I have up here. I'm just going to talk about old and new because I can't show them both at the same time and you won't be able to see a thing. But so here's our new version of the report card. What remains consistent at the top is the name of the school with the demographic information. See, the assistant principal is incorrectly labeled. We have some back end work that we will turn that around. So ignore that. But important to know on the other side, you've got the school year, we've got the trimester now. The grade will still be there. The homeroom teacher will still be there. In that box on the left is a picture of the student, which remains, and the attendance information is now presented in trimesters right underneath. The purpose statement is still there. The next section of this, let's see if I can. The next section here speaks to competencies. And this is where it starts to get a little bit different, okay? So instead of going in our traditional 1, 2, 3, 4 and grading on standards that are meant to be an end of year acquisition for students, what we start talking about is competency. And so the competencies are laid out below. You'll see them in just a moment. And this is the way we communicate about the competency. We talk about a student being at the beginning stage, and we've got the student language there that says, I'm just getting started, just learning, just figuring it out. And then you see the description. With ongoing guided support, the student recalls and applies foundational content knowledge and skills. Okay. The developing category is the next one up from the bottom. I'm getting there with support along the way. The student recalls, reproduces, and applies foundational and essential content, knowledge, and skills in familiar tasks with minimal support. Applying is that level where, hey, I've got the hang of this and I can do it, right? I get it and can do it on my own, right? The student recalls, reproduces, and applies foundational and essential content, knowledge, and skills in familiar tasks. Extending, I get it, I can use it, and I can do it in different ways. The student is independent, fluently and consistently making connections and applies foundational and essential content, knowledge, and skills in familiar and new tasks. And so those descriptors are a little bit different, right? So when we talk about the skill of reading, we can say, oh, yeah, you've hit the target. Great. What does that mean? What does it mean when I say you've got a 2 or you've got a 3? This really is a much better descriptor, a much better communication tool with families. This report is just one piece of the conversation that we'll have with families. There's other supporting documents that go with this that speak to the details. Okay, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit more here. Here are the competencies listed next. Okay, English language arts, there are 4 categories to report on here. Foundational skills, well, what are those? Those supporting documents go into what those are, but those are things like my letter sounds. Those are things like my sight words. Those are things like my ability to break apart words, right? To use picture cues, all of those kinds of things. Foundational skills. Literary and informational text. That's where we're going to start to see how students are working with books, right? Working with text. Writing and language, speaking and listening. Those are the 4 reports under English language arts. Pretty consistent. Ellen, if you were thinking of high school, those categories are pretty consistent all the way through. Mathematics, number sense and systems, operations and algebraic thinking, geometry, measurement, and data are the competencies we're looking for there. Science, skills, science knowledge, social studies, inquiry and communication, community and citizenship, applying disciplinary tools. There's some space here for comments on this front side of the document. On the back side of the document, you get the same descriptors for unified arts with very specific language for those. Then you've got the competencies under each of those domains. And at the bottom of the back page, we start getting into our vision of a learner competencies. And so community builder, active collaborator, self-directed learner, developing learner, they're here. Student level is there. And description is there. Okay. And so those are the competencies under vision of a learner. This is one of the grades. There is another grade here that this is, I'm going to say this is 3rd through 4th grade. The kindergarten one, what's different is under mathematics. Instead of, it has all 3 of those categories, but it also has accounting and cardinality, as for example. Questions or comments about report card?
What is the, I'm new here, so what is the driving reason for moving grades? I mean, when I went to school with ABC,
Yeah.
and then now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're like, what's the reason?
You're asking the most complicated question in education, but I'll give you a synthesis. So the reason we move to competencies as opposed to those letter grades is that the letter grades indicate a finality. We're done, right? When you get that, and this happens with kids all over the place, right? My son is this student, right? I show up at high school. He's a very capable guy, but and can get A's if he wants to, but he's fine with a C. So when he gets the C, he's done. Right? He's like, I passed. C's get degrees. I'm good. Moving on. In that sends a message, right? He's not working for that A. He's not driven for that because he realizes that I win this game if I get a C. I don't have to be the A. And I don't have to be at the top because what does that mean really anyway? And so that piece of it shifts. This is a communication tool, right? It's instead of saying to your parent, this is how good I'm doing at meeting the target, it's communicating better. I'm meeting the targets, and here's how well I'm meeting the targets. I can do it by myself. You know what? I can't only just do it by myself. I can extend beyond just doing it by myself, the expectation. Or, hey, I'm really still working on this. Or I'm really just beginning with this, as opposed to they're a 1 at the beginning of the year, or they're a 1 at the end of the year. That's failure. This is speaking to a continuous progress of learning as well. So it changes the tone of this. Now, this is elementary, right? The language here is very elementary. This isn't what it looks like at a middle or a high school. There's different language there. But for elementary students, that building that pathway, it's all foundational, right? And so you're continuing, whether I don't know how good you can be at your ABCs. If you either know them or you don't, right? You met the standard or you didn't. So saying I'm a 1, 2, 3, or 4 with my ABCs doesn't really feel like I'm sending a different message. But saying I'm just beginning learning my ABCs, or guess what? I know my ABCs, but I also can do things with my ABCs. That's a different language. That's different. That's a different sentence to a parent.
And what? I'm sorry.
I always found the comments along with the grade, whether 1, 2, 3, 4, or ABC.
Yeah.
The comments were very helpful, and that always kind of told me where the kids were along with that. So that's why I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're not changing the report card at this point at the middle school and the high school. We're still going to have a very traditional. The ABC ones.
Is
Yeah.
this one proposed? Is this proposed or is this something that we're already adopted or?
This is something that is before you this evening. We'd like to move forward with it. We have adopted trimesters, we have adopted competencies. And so this is the final report that would accompany already two pieces that we've adopted.
Yeah, I have to comment that I do like this change in language, and I probably am not going to word this as well as I'll go home and think, oh, I should have said it this way instead. But I think oftentimes parents that don't understand the competencies, the foundation you're laying at the elementary school, and their child doesn't get that 3, that really, oh my goodness, you're not working hard enough, you should be getting a 3. Well, no, really, because you're beginning. And, this gives you the steps of where you're going to go that I think as a parent, I would understand, no, my child's not going to be at the end game at the beginning of the year. This is where I expect them to hopefully be by the end of the year, if that made sense.
The other piece I would add to that, Ellen, is that you've got buckets here, right? Foundational skills, but we're not listing out every standard or a number of standards under that, right? So I'm not reporting whether I'm a 1, 2, 3, or 4 on this finite piece of information, this granular piece. I'm reporting on a bucket, right? On a bucket of foundational skills. And when I think across the spectrum of skills, how is the student performing? As opposed to your student is not doing well here, and we're hyper focused on the one that maybe its importance in the grand scheme of things is minimal, but it's not, because it's on the report card and because it's a 1, it becomes really important. I think about now things like fact fluency. Now, I'm not saying they're not important. They're very important, but they're among a number of very important skills. And to say that I can solve problems independently is a much richer statement than I know my multiplication tables, right? That gives me more information about how I'm going to proceed into algebra. I can know my 2 tables, but that doesn't mean that I'm good at solving problems. I just happen to be able to recall those facts. I have to be able to apply that. I have to be able to put that to work when it needs to come to work, right? So it's like the guy who shows up with the very best toolbox on the job site and knows to turn that ratchet like anybody's business, but you put them in front of the engine or in front of the whatever they've got to do, and they haven't got it. They need somebody standing over them and saying, well, turn that one and poke that one, right? No, he got an A+ on his tool belt, right? Got a 4, he got an A. But boy, that application didn't show up in that report card. This tells a different story.
I think the thing that I like best as parents with a lot more information, we know that first one, there are some children who have been read to and whatever and are well advanced in understanding concepts and picturing things and whatever. And that first one, if you get that bottom grade, there's a stigma and whatever. You haven't really measured anything. You've just come out of the gate and already you've gotten a grade on it. And I know we talked about it a lot. It made more sense to give the teachers more time to educate and interact with the students. And then you got an assessment that the parents can look at and say, oh, okay, they've had some time here and I know where they're strong and I know where they need some help.
I think the language is much more positive too. And
Yeah.
there's no stigma
You failed.
attached to, I'm just getting started. Well, we all
Yeah.
get started at something.
Yeah, we are.
I think it's a much more positive
Yeah,
language
coming out
that
of the
it
gate,
portrays.
you didn't expect to be
Instead of saying F, you failed.
Yeah.
And not that we want to water that down, because I think that can be something that often comes as a criticism of competency or competency-based grading, right? If I'm not doing it, I'm not showing competence. It's not that I failed, it's that I didn't even start, right? And that's different, because how as an educator, I'm going to intervene with a kid who didn't start or a kid who tried and failed is very different. A kid who didn't start needs me to do something different than a kid who tried it and it didn't work out, right? I can move very differently with a kid who tried it, who needs me to fix the mistakes, the errors, than a kid who's not even trying, who doesn't want to be there.
Right.
Right. But that F sends the same message. Doesn't tell a
It
tale.
does.
Right. But
I
in
mean, in the first case, the child never has gotten out of the gate. In the second, you can say, okay, here's what we got to work on. I think it's
Well, you've got someone who's playing and someone who's not.
That's right.
right. I mean, you look at the one on the old report card, it's little understanding of grade level skills and concepts. Performance shows little or no awareness of grade level tasks. And to me, that just feels so negative. And you know, the one on the other one is, well, you're beginning. Okay, that's great. Keep going, you know? So I do like this change in language.
Well, looking at the report card, just on a visual, way it's sectioned out. So the first page has the core competencies with the comments. And like Jeff, I think the comments are just as important as the other information that's being provided with regards to the core competencies. But are these comments designed to speak just towards the core competencies that are above them, and there's really no space for our comment on any of the other areas, on the unified arts or on the vision of a learner? Like, is there no dialogue that's going to be included with those to provide any insight into how they are progressing in those areas as well?
So currently, we don't have space for our unified art comments. However, as just like our core areas, we do have those supporting documents for families who want to have that additional information. There's not necessarily space here to add that to the page. However, the vision of a learner are taking place of those citizenship and social skills competencies. And so those are going to be embedded in that first page comment.
Okay.
Okay.
I have another question for you. On the new report card, you give the example under the English language arts. Is it one, I don't want to call it a grade, but I'm going to call it a grade. Is there one designation for all of English language arts, or are they broken down into the different categories? Or are you just looking at the big bucket?
Foundational skills is a bucket. Literary and informational text is another bucket.
Okay, so it's
You don't see the grades for all of those because this is a mock-up.
okay, but would you see the grades? for all?
Yes.
You would.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept this report card version, or do we want to digest a little bit more and think about it and come back?
I'm willing to make the motion. I think we've discussed this over a number of meetings. And Melissa, I trust your judgment. You've gone through it, you've talked to the teachers, you talked to parents, and they seem to be well on board.
Mr. Saunders has been through this with Mr. Heath Vincent through Power School. That's a system that does this. As I said, the components of this are adopted, right? Competencies are adopted, trimesters are adopted already and are moving forward. This is the final documentation stage, the reporting out phase. We'd like to get it kicked off. We got to do some training around how to collect these kind of grades. And we want to be able to train our teachers with some consistency in the parent-teacher conference and what comes out of that and those supporting documents that we have as well. So I am looking for.
Designed by Mr. Saunders?
Mr. Saunders.
Himself, or was it a collaborative effort with other teachers and things within Highbridge?
Mr. Saunders, Mr. Vincent, and I. Yep.
So there's been no input from any of the people who would actually have to be putting information into here as to whether or not they would.
The buckets that you see there
Yeah.
were developed over the entirety of last year
Right.
as we worked through competencies. Those buckets that you see, the comments at the top is it language they've been working through for the entirety of last year.
Right.
For the core competencies as well as the unified arts. So while they have not, you're right, they have not seen this version, and they will receive training on how to navigate this version. The content that's here is content that they've been working on for over a year.
Okay.
Great question.
Like Steve, I'm ready to
Right.
vote on it. I don't know.
Do you have a motion?
Yeah, I made that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously.
I mean, we know there'll be bumps in the road, Melissa, but you know, you've come through many,
Change.
many months of review, and I think this takes us to a whole nother level and really being able to look at the child's performance.
Change is hard too, and
It is.
education's an institution. We've been, as Jeff said, when he was in school, when I was in school, since the beginning of school, we've always done it that way. And so when we are going to make something as monumental a change of this, you should ask me a lot of questions. You should be poking at this. You should be saying, but why? Why now? Why now? And if we don't have a good answer for that, then we should be talking more about it. But this is work that we've done for 2 years, and we are continuing to do because we believe that we need to. We have different children sitting in front of us than we did 20 years ago. They're receiving and expressing information differently, and they have access to different information sources. And so we need to evolve the system to better match what they're coming in with. And we need to be able to communicate about that a little bit differently. It's less about whether I just know it and can say it, or as I said, whether I show up with the toolbox or I can use the tools in the toolbox.
And I think the demands in the marketplace are changing. I mean, you know, this takes you more into areas of critical thinking and whatever, where the grade by itself, unless, like you said, unless those comments are really good on the side.
And
So-
we've heard from industry for years now, for 20
Okay.
years at least, that we're graduating kiddos who are not self-starters, who are showing up. You know, I'm looking for people to hire because I need somebody who's willing to work,
Yeah.
who can take some information that I give them and then go and apply it, not for me to do it too, to stand there and observe and watch and say, okay, well, now turn that one. Okay, go to the left. Okay, turn that third one from the bottom, right? That kind of stuff. Kids who can make change, kids who we can sit and do the workbook in class, right, to make change. I was just at Jono's a couple of months back, and they said to me, there's one thing I'll tell you, is you got to teach these kids to count coins. And I said, we are. He said, well, they can't make change when they come in here. I can take all their money because they don't know whether I've given them all of it or not. And I said, yeah, okay, on it. But that's the difference between I can count the change on the workbook page, or I can apply this information outside of that, right?
I think it's putting memorization as education more and more in the review mirror, and I think that's good.
Or putting it in its place where it belongs. Do I need to memorize my math
Sure
facts?
you do.
100%.
But yeah.
Do I need
Can
to
I
know
apply
my
it?
letters? 100%. But is that the end of the game, so to speak? Or is that the most important thing?
Sure.
Moving on.
Thank you, folks.
Melissa,
Melissa.
Oh, me again.
Student and Family Handbook.
Yes. Okay. Let me just make sure you have got it in your folder here. We uploaded the 2026-2027 Student and Family Handbook. As you can see, it by and large, Mr. Saunders, Mr. Clark, and Mr. Pickering have taken a look and reviewed components of the front matter. There are addendums to this handbook, but what you see presented before you tonight are the policy pieces. This is the part that facilitates our conversations with families around student discipline, code of conduct, attendance, plagiarism, all of the things that require us to be able to do the business of school, so to speak, and communicate that with families. The addendums are specific to each school. Our principals are meeting with both Dr. Pogo and I on Wednesday, and one of our topics of conversation is unifying those across schools so that we know that when I go to the addendum on Highbridge and I'm looking for the schedule, I will also find that at BMS, and I will also find that at Mascenic. If I'm looking for a staff list, that it exists here. But unifying those resources across our 3 buildings is the next phase of this project. So I'm asking for you to take a look and to approve this first part of the handbook, and then we'll share the addendums as they're ready.
Okay, I have a question for you, and I scrolled really quickly, so it may not be the only thing, but if you go to page 50,
Okay.
down towards the bottom, I believe a name needs to be updated.
Did we miss one?
And I haven't looked at it thoroughly. I'm just sitting here scanning. I didn't even look at it at home. So I'm not sure if there's others.
I've not seen, yeah, I've not seen it.
Oh, yes, we
Oh,
do.
yeah. Okay.
Yes, we do.
You probably could do a search to see if that name appears anywhere else.
I think we updated right before it on page 43 and we
Okay.
missed that one.
Okay,
But we can certainly, if the board would approve this with ensuring that the names are accurate in all of the places, then I would be grateful.
so are there any significant updates that were made on July 28th, or is it just kind of changing some names and adding some policies? No significant updates?
Yep, no significant updates. There are a couple, thank you. We've updated the policy links to make sure that they link to the board folders as opposed to directly to the policies, because the policies are often updated mid-year or whenever they need to be per statute. So we thought if we go to the folder, that's a much better way to navigate those direct
Okay.
links. The other is the names. We also had a couple of instances where, number one, food service balances and participation in those extracurricular events or those extracurricular opportunities would be contingent on having a positive account balance with the district. So not things that are academic related, but some of those things like
Is that a new policy?
camps. It is part of a practice that we have adopted over the last couple of years with the increase in the fund balance.
Okay, but we haven't really enforced it or?
We need to message it before we can enforce it,
Okay.
and so this is one of those
It's a
steps
stronger message. Okay.
in saying,
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
yep, instead of holding folks accountable to that. The other is around discipline and overnight field trips or extended field trips, and that if a student has a significant disciplinary and conduct record, we wanted to make sure that that it was noticed to parents that their behavior would be subject to conversation before they were permitted to attend.
Okay.
It's things that present a safety hazard for an overnight field trip
Okay.
It
And so
is
if
going to
that,
be considered.
if a student is in the negative fund balance for lunches or that behavior issue, is that something that will be pointed out to the parent at the first step when it first occurs? Because I bet you parents aren't.
Parents aren't going to see that. No, we will have other mechanisms for messaging as well.
Okay.
But I'll make a note to talk with the principals about this when
Okay.
we meet Wednesday. Thank you.
You page 6,
Page 6.
regards to the vice
Another
chair
update.
members.
Oh, yeah. You've been promoted, Ellen.
Demoted. Yeah.
And Jeremy's been demoted.
I was in the program regret. Yes.
I was replaced.
Yeah. Thank you for catching that, Jeremy.
So do we have a motion to accept the student handbook as presented with the necessary changes?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll make a
oops.
motion as presented with a caveat that it's desk checked.
Yeah, because page 6 also has that name that I pointed out on page 50.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So just with the final review, I think the changes are de minimis, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we,
Non-material.
Thank you.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Whoops.
Jeff's like. it.
Jeff seconded.
Everybody knows.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr.
Almost
Mahoney,
there.
I've never seen a new board member jump on board that quite that quickly. So good for you. Usually they wait and they go, "Oh, who's gonna do it? Not me."
All right, last thing for new business, life skills program approval.
Yes, so
Melissa.
we finally, oh, me again, yes. Ariana's gonna talk about this. Life skills program approval. We finally got the official letter from the Department of Education approving our life skills program for students through age 21 at Mascenic Regional High School. So that program is up and running. We've got a teacher, will be up and running. We have a teacher, we have programs waiting, and so we're looking forward to being able to support those students in-house and eventually being able to open that program to partner districts.
But not necessarily this year for the.
Not necessarily this year. We've got a brand new teacher there and a brand new program. I think we should make sure that we've got our solid footing,
Absolutely.
but maybe in January, you never know.
Okay.
Excellent.
That doesn't require any action, right?
No
That was
action, just
informational
information for
purposes.
you.
Alrighty, moving on to policies. We have the addendum to the agenda where we are adding. This is going to be the first read for policy EEAG and to get an expedited basis on it as well to move it forward. Policy EEAG is in relation to the use of private vehicles to transport students. So this is really a direct response to some of the funding issues we've had at Boynton and being able to provide transportation there and making sure that on those activities that are school sponsored, that transportation remains with the district, but those that are not will be the responsibility of parents to make sure that their children get there. We are looking to do this on an expedited basis, so this can be applicable for fall sports. Any questions or further information anyone would like to know about the policy or anything else? Anything you'd like to add, Melissa, in any way?
Just that we worked with our attorney on this one, because there are a couple of nuances here that we wanted to make sure that we addressed. You know, we don't want to get away in the way of school transportation from home into school. That is not anything to do with that. Essentially, this is if the district provides, here's how it's done. If the district, with permission, the superintendent may allow for private use of vehicles, but it's explicit and it outlines what those considerations are for insurance waivers, et cetera. But otherwise, if the district doesn't provide, that's really decisions. It places that in the hands of families as it should be. The other piece of there is about there's an underlined portion, Jeremy, specifically about parents parents making decisions related. Let me just see. This is about school district personnel transporting students, and that it's a prohibited. It's prohibited. Teachers don't drive students in their personal vehicle. We have folks who are licensed or certified to drive our vehicles. They're our vehicles, not their personal vehicles, unless there is a reason. For example, a student it needs to be transported to the hospital in an ambulance, and the parent can't arrive in time. Then a teacher or someone could ride with the student in the ambulance or accompany the student on that. But otherwise, those are prohibited actions, right? We're not taking kids to medical appointments in our vehicles, none of that kind of stuff. So that's explicit in the policy as well.
All right. So like Melissa said, this has been vetted by our attorneys and really comprehensive. Given the oncoming sports season and signups to give parents the most information possible so that whether or not they want their kids involved in the sports, this policy kind of has to be attached to what's going on. So we're looking to expedite this and get it approved tonight as opposed to just a first reading and a second reading.
We know
Okay.
the policy See now, is this?
This replaces the policy that we had
Yeah.
before.
We do have a policy. It's actually policy EEAD. It's really, the current policy is EEAD, and it doesn't provide us enough difference between when we are not providing transportation. We needed to be able to say, you know, for these athletic events, we are not providing transportation. And so because we're not providing that transportation, that's really now parents' authority. Before that, the policy had us doing a lot of that negotiating, and we were in the place of parents there, and so we needed to be able to make sure that we were outside of that parent place. And parents make those decisions on transportation when transportation's not provided. When transportation's provided, the district makes those that known, and those decisions are on the district, right?
And for most, this really is going to apply more towards Boynton than it is towards Mascenic. Pretty much all of the activities at Mascenic, we will be providing transportation for, so you're not going to be getting into an issue with a student taking their own vehicle or trying to take more than other students in their vehicle too, because they're not allowed to without permission, which is never going to be given more than likely. So this is really towards Boynton, where it's going to be a parent who has the ability to do the transportation. A student wouldn't have the ability to transport themselves anywhere, given the grade level and the ages.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
This is specific to athletics. What about if there's a
All trans-
adjudication?
all activities.
All activities.
All
Thank you.
all,
Thank you.
all activities, yeah.
Isn't there a distance or a time away factor in this too?
No, that's just part of practice.
Yes.
Part of our
Yeah.
practice.
That'll be determined by is it going to be the superintendent will determine
Yeah.
what is a school provided event and what isn't. Right, so do I have a motion to expedite this and put it forward for approval?
Yeah, I really think we have to.
Do I have a second?
I'll,
I was waiting for you.
I was waiting for you, Jeff, but you were a little slow.
All right,
I'm gonna have to give it to him. I want to be fair.
I said a lot.
He said, it. Jeff can have it. You can have his
Well,
name all over
In
the.
this case, I'm gonna back out. Yeah.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, all right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right.
Personnel
Thank you so
now,
much.
personnel report. With
Personnel,
the
quite a long
caveat on
slate.
25, right?
Yeah. Quite a long slate there. Let me just double check on that.
And I
see.
thought I saw a name, two names twice,
Redundant.
but now I'm only seeing one. So it's number 5 and number 23, same position, same name. You know, maybe it doesn't matter that it's twice, but.
Oh, yeah, it does. What happened is,
Backwards.
yep, so we can remove number 23 as well. You can
Okay.
strike 23, and 25. 23 is just redundant, as Ellen
Yep.
said, and 25 is not ready for prime time yet, but will come to you soon.
For consistency, I would strike 5, not 23.
Okay, great.
Oh, I see mine. Okay. Last name's first one.
Just
Yep,
consistency.
yep.
Awesome.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept the slate as presented with the indicated adjustments?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right. Yep. All right. So nothing else. Final public comments. Still no one here in public or online for public. So no final public comments. Agenda building. Anybody have anything that they would like to add to either the next agenda or future agendas to come?
We really don't need to put on, we were gonna discuss some of those AC policies. Do you want to put that on the agenda or is that just gonna happen?
That'll be included in the policies.
Standard in the policy.
Yeah.
So nothing from here.
Alrighty, then You said we did have a matter of non-public? or-
Just briefly, just something to
briefly.
update you all on a matter that we're working on trying to get rolling if we can. But
All right,
I did want to give you a heads up.
need a motion to go into non-public under which particular reason?
Matter of reputation.
Do I have a motion?
Oh, RSA 91-A:3, Roman number 2C.
Oh, good job, Steve.
Second?
I'll second that.
Roll
You
call?
have to do roll call. So you're gonna say,
You have to say yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
or no.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, it is 7:31. We will be going into non-public. Take a 3 to 5 minute break here just to stretch our legs and then come back for the non-public session. Everyone else can head out. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.